Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And today we are here to take care of Julius Caesar Act 5. So we are going to check out all the various scenes and their explanations properly. Okay. So first of all, I would like to present the scene summary to all of you so that you get some basic understanding and you grasp the details, what's exactly happening over here. Okay, just grab it in the brief, basically. Okay. So let's just check out the summary that we have over here for your Act 5 Scene 1. Okay. And it's going to be a video which I want all of you to see for sure. Yeah, here it is. One second. Yeah, so I'll just switch on desktop audio.
At the plains of Philippi, the location for the final battles, Antony and Octavius realize that Brutus and Cassius are looking to attack.
When they arrive, the generals of the two armies face off with some trash talking.
Words before blows. Is it so, countrymen?
Not that we love words better, as you do.
Good words are better than bad strokes, Octavius.
When Octavius gets tired of all the talking, he invites them to do battle.
If you dare fight today, come to the field. If not, when you have stomachs.
Cassius tells Messala that he has a bad feeling and points to the scavenger birds that fly overhead.
Their shadows seem a canopy most fatal under which our army lies, ready to give up the ghost.
Because they will go their separate ways for battle, Cassius asks Brutus if he's willing to be taken prisoner if they lose.
Then, if we lose this battle, you are contented to be led in triumph through the streets of Rome?
No, Cassius, no. Think not, thou noble Roman, that ever Brutus will go bound to Rome. He bears too great a mind.
Not knowing if they'll ever see each other again, they say their goodbyes.
Forever and forever, farewell, Cassius. If we do meet again, why, we shall smile. If not, why then, this parting was well made.
Forever and forever farewell, Brutus. If we do meet again, we'll smile indeed. If not, 'tis true, this parting was well made.
Okay, so I think all of you would have seen that summary now. So let's begin this particular scene. As all of you know, that at this moment, what's happening over here is that there's going to be a battle at Philippi, and both the armies are facing each other. On one side, you have Octavius with Antony and their army, and on the other side, you have Brutus and Cassius and their army. Okay. So now what happens? Let's take care of this. Let's proceed over here and understand. So enter Octavius and Antony and their army. So Octavius says, let's proceed. Octavius and Antony will have a conversation.
Now, Antony, our hopes are answered. You said the enemy would not come down, but keep the hills and upper regions. It proved not so. Their battles are at hand. They mean to warn us at Philippi here, answering before we do demand of them.
Tut, I am in their bosoms, and I know wherefore they do it. They could be content to visit other places, and come down with fearful bravery, thinking by this face to fasten in our thoughts that they have courage. But 'tis not so.
Prepare you, generals. The enemy comes on in gallant show. Their bloody sign of battle is hung out, and something to be done immediately.
So as you can see over here, what's happening is that Octavius and Antony are having a conversation. So Octavius says to Antony that, so now Antony, our hopes are answered. You said the enemy would not come down. So basically, I think Antony had anticipated that Cassius and Brutus would not be fool enough to come down, all right, to a battle at Philippi, but that's not what happened. And actually, Cassius and Brutus did come down to battle at Philippi. So Octavius says over here, now Antony, everything is turning out as we had hoped. You said the enemy wouldn't come down into the valleys, but would stick to the hills and higher ground. That proves to be false. Their forces are nearby, and they intend to confront us at Philippi, entering into battle before we force it on them. Okay. So definitely before battle, you have preparations, you have intelligence, and you plan accordingly, right? So Octavius and Antony also planned accordingly. And initially, so in any battle, even in today's battles, modern day warfare as well, if you have a higher ground, you are supposed to be at advantage because you are able to surveillance the enemy very well. And when you can surveillance the enemy very well, then you can also attack them very well. Okay, so that's why Cassius and Brutus could have faced them off from the hills, but they chose to come down and challenge the forces of Antony and Octavius at Philippi. That's what's being discussed over here. Okay, let's proceed then. Now, Anthony says, I know what they are thinking and why they are doing this. They would rather be somewhere else and yet be coming down into the valleys with a show of bravery. They hope to make us think that they are courageous, but they are not. So, Anthony over here is saying that this is nothing but just a farce. It's just a fake show of force which is being shown, which is being done by Anthony and Brutus. In reality, they know very well that they cannot face both Antony and Octavius together, but still Brutus and Cassius are trying to put forward a fake face of bravery by coming down to the valley like this. Okay, so let's proceed then. Okay, then a messenger enters, as you can see. Make preparations, general. The enemy is making a show of approaching boldly. They have their blood red battle standards flying, and we must do something immediately. So, in a way, thing is, what's happening over here is that Antony and Octavius are being challenged by the army of Brutus and Cassius by their show of weaponry, and so basically, what's happening over here is that the armies of Brutus and Cassius are muscle flexing in a way, and they are challenging Antony and Octavius over here to a battle. So that's what's being informed by a messenger to Antony and Octavius. Okay, so what happens next? Let's proceed.
Octavius, lead your battle softly on, upon the left hand of the even field.
Upon the right hand I, keep thou the left.
Why do you cross me in this exigent?
I do not cross you, but I will do so.
They stand and would have parley.
Stand fast, Titinius. We must out and talk.
Mark Antony, shall we give sign of battle?
No, Caesar, we will answer on their charge. Make forth, the generals would have some words.
Stir not until the signal.
Words before blows. Is it so, countrymen?
Not that we love words better, as you do.
Good words are better than bad strokes, Octavius.
In your bad strokes, Brutus, you give good words. Witness the hole you made in Caesar's heart, crying, "Long live, hail Caesar!"
Now, as you can see, guys, that the messenger informed Antony and Octavius that the enemy, that means Cassius and Brutus, are muscle flexing. Their armies are muscle flexing, and they are actually challenging us to a battle. So then, what happens? So over here, so Antony immediately asks Octavius for a particular battle formation, which Octavius rejects. Okay. So Antony says to Octavius, Octavius, carefully lead your forces to the left side of the level field. Okay. But what Octavius says, I'll take the right side, you take the left. Now then Antony says that why are you contradicting me in this urgent situations, in this emergency situation right here at the battlefield? Why are you cross-questioning me, and why are you in fact not listening to what I am saying? Because Antony was much more experienced in battle than Octavius. That's why he had said this to Octavius. Then Octavius said, I am not opposing you, but I will take the right side. Okay. Then enters Brutus and Cassius and their army as well, along with Lucilius, Titius, Messala, and others. Okay. Now, what happens over here? Let's proceed over here and understand. So, what happened over here is that the army of Antony and Octavius is right behind them. But Antony and Octavius, mounted on their horses, have come a bit forward. So, it looks as if they want to have a discussion, or they want to have a brief chat with Brutus and Cassius. Okay. So Brutus says to their own army, they have halted and wanted to speak to us. Then Cassius says to his own sub-general, halt, Titius, we must go out and talk to them. Then Octavius says to Mark Antony should we signal our forces to attack. Now what's happening over here, since Antony and Octavius are also towards the middle of the field with their army rallying behind. So, Brutus and Cassius are also approaching Mark Antony and Octavius to discuss, to chat. So, Antony says to Octavius, no, Octavius Caesar, we'll wait and respond to their charge. Let's go forward. Their generals want to talk with us. That means Brutus and Cassius wants to talk with us. Then Octavius says to his officers, don't move until the signal's given. Then what's happening over here is that Octavius and Antony face off against Brutus and Cassius while having a discussion. Okay. So Brutus says, will it be words before blows then, countrymen? Okay. And is replied by Octavius, yes, but not because we prefer to talk rather than fight like you do. So basically what's happening over here, it's kind of a trash talk, and what Brutus was trying to say that, so you want to perhaps you want to make it a little bit easy by, or rather you want us to give you a less of a fight so that you discuss with us first and then you want to fight. So Octavius says it's nothing like that. We do prefer to fight and not have a verbal discussion like you do. Okay. Now, let's proceed. Then Brutus replies to Octavius and says, good words are better than bad sword strikes, Octavius. Okay, so he says that, with mellow words, you can actually win battles before they start. So that's why Brutus is saying over here that good words are better than bad sword strikes, Octavius. So Antony replies to Brutus, with your bad strikes, Brutus, you have provoked good words. I speak of the hole you stabbed in Caesar's heart, a hole that cannot help but cry out to every Roman, long live Caesar and hail Caesar. So Antony over here contradicts and confronts Brutus and says that I am a witness of the bad strike that you hit Caesar with, that you hit Julius Caesar with, and in fact, on the part of the wound that Brutus gave to Julius Caesar while stabbing Caesar in the heart, it's because of that particular stab. It's that particular stab wound which certainly screams "Long live Caesar and hail Caesar" to every Roman, right? So what's happening over here is that Antony indirectly wants to say to Brutus that Brutus, you are responsible because of what's happening over here. It's because of you this is happening. If you had not stabbed Caesar, if you had started with Caesar, then none of this would have been happening over here. Okay, so let's proceed then.
Antony, the posture of your blows are yet unknown, but for your words they rob the Hybla bees and leave them honeyless.
Not stingless, too?
Oh, yes, and soundless too. For you have stolen their buzzing, Antony, and very wisely threat before you sting.
Villains, you did not so when your vile daggers hacked one another in the sides of Caesar. You showed your teeth like apes and fawned like hounds, and bowed like bondmen kissing Caesar's feet, whilst damned Casca like a cur behind struck Caesar on the neck. O you flatterers!
Flatterers! Now, Brutus, thank yourself. This tongue had not offended so today if Cassius might have ruled.
Okay, so after Brutus gets confronted by Antony, then Cassius says that Antony, we don't know if you're an effective fighter, but your talking is so sweet, you must have stolen the honey of the legendary Hybla bees. Okay, now see, I think all of us have already witnessed that Brutus is definitely a very able orator, okay, but Antony has got the better of him, and he got almost all of Rome to rally behind him and even burn down the houses of conspirators as well. So we actually know that Antony's oratory skills is actually much better than Brutus. I mean, Brutus certainly supposed to be a 10 on 10, but on these occasions, on recent occasions, Antony has actually proven to be better than the 10 on 10 orator that Brutus is. So that's why Antony is spoken to by Cassius over here and said, like Cassius says over here, that Antony, we don't know if you're an effective fighter, but definitely your words are sweeter than honey. And it seems as if you have robbed the Hybla bees of honey. Because while you're speaking, it seems also mellow and it seems also sweet. Your words are too sweet. Okay. So Antony says, "What, you don't think I took their stingers too as well?" So Antony over here tries to tease Cassius and says that, you just think I have taken the honey. Don't you think I've also disarmed them? Because there's nothing. So indirectly, what Antony is saying is that he has the moral high ground over here, and he's not the one who actually robbed Julius Caesar. And in a way, you can say that he is not the one he's not the reason, like Antony is not the reason why every Roman stands against the conspirators and Brutus and Cassius. Okay, he is not the reason. Antony is not the reason, to be exact, that because of which this is happening. But what's happening over here is a bit of teasing that's happening, because like Cassius teased Antony and said that your words are sweeter than honey. Looks like you have robbed of all Hybla bees. So now Antony gives it back and he says, you think I've just taken the bees and not their stingers too? That means, so basically, since Antony rallied all of Rome behind them, It's because of him that the conspirators feel totally powerless, and there's not a single Roman who supports Brutus or Cassius anymore. Okay, now let's see. So Brutus says over here, well, you've certainly taken their buzzing to try to scare off your opponents, since you lack the courage to attack them. So Brutus over here says to Antony that all over this is all a bluff. Okay, Brutus is saying to Antony that Antony is bluffing and Octavius is bluffing, and all the buzzing that you are creating right now is also stolen from the bees, because you lack the courage to attack us. Okay, so indirectly Brutus is taunting Antony. All right, then let's proceed. Now over here, now Antony gets a bit rattled and he replies, and he right away says, "You villains! You gave no warning when your wild daggers hacked into each other inside of Caesar's body. You smiled like apes, fawned on him like a pet dogs, and bowed to Caesar like slaves, kissing his feet, while that damned Casca snuck up like a mongrel dog from behind and stabbed Caesar in the neck. Oh, you flatterers!" Now, Antony is actually talking, since he was provoked regarding a fight by Brutus and Cassius. So now Antony is indirectly saying that you guys are telling about fighting. You morons, you villains, you flatterers, you bowed like slaves in front of Caesar and then stabbed him. One of your conspirators stabbed him from behind in the neck like a mongrel dog, like a rabid dog. And you're talking about fighting, and you're talking about fighting face to face. So that's what Antony is saying over here. That all of you, that person, that Julius Caesar was only alone, and all of you rounded him, and even then you bowed down like slaves in front of him, and while he was not paying attention, Casca stabbed Caesar from behind like a wild dog, like a rabid dog would do. Okay, and you are talking about fighting to me. You are such flatterers. That's what Antony says over here. Then Cassius also gets rattled up, and he turns to Brutus and says, first of all, he addresses Antony, but then he also turned to Brutus and say that, thank yourself. So Cassius says to Antony, you call us flatterers? Brutus, now he turns to Brutus and says, you only have yourself to thank. Antony would not be alive to insult us today if my advice had been taken then. Now, if you guys recall, Cassius wanted Antony to be killed, but Brutus had said that that's not required. Killing Caesar would be enough. Okay, so that's why Brutus had the last word, and that's the reason why Antony is alive today, and he is able to confront Brutus and Cassius about their deeds. So that's what Cassius wants to say over here. Now let's proceed.
Come, the cause. If arguing make us sweat, the proof of it will turn to redder drops. Look, I draw a sword against conspirators. When think you that the sword goes up again? Never, till Caesar's 33 wounds be well avenged, or till another Caesar have added slaughter to the sword of traitors.
Caesar, thou canst not die by traitors' hands, unless thou bring'st them with thee.
So I hope. I was not born to die on Brutus' sword.
Oh, if thou wert the noblest of thy strain, young man, thou couldst not die more honorable.
A peevish schoolboy, worthless of such honor, joined with a masker and a reveler.
Now, after the previous conversation in which Cassius tried to pin the blame on Brutus for keeping Antony alive, Octavius returns towards Brutus, returns the jibe towards Brutus and says, come on, let's go to the issue at hand. If arguing is making us sweat, resolving the issue will surely result in bloody drops. So what's happening over here is that the conversation is heating up. So let's start fighting now. Okay, enough discussion. And that's what Octavius is saying. Look, I am drawing my swords against you, conspirators. So he draws his sword now. When do you think that I'll lower the sword again? Never, until either Caesar's 33 stab wounds have been revenged, or until I am killed and you traitors have the blood of another Caesar on your hands. So Octavius has taken his sword out and he's challenging Brutus and saying very clearly that this sword will only go back into the sheath once the 33 wounds of Julius Caesar get avenged, or you have another Caesar's blood, like you actually kill. So he's threatening, he's challenging Brutus to kill him. Okay. And he's saying that, so that he's saying that this sword will either go into the sheath or will fall down. But that's not going to happen unless Octavius Caesar is able to avenge Julius Caesar, or Brutus and Cassius and their army are able to kill Octavius Caesar. Okay? Now, so Brutus says over here, Caesar, you can't be killed by a traitor unless they came with you. So Brutus over here is taunting Antony, by the way. And he's saying, saying to Octavius Caesar, replying to Octavius Caesar, you can't be killed by a traitor unless they come with you. So unless you brought the traitors with you. So Brutus is saying that we are not traitors. You may have brought the traitors with yourself. So do you see the audacity of this guy here? Now Octavius replies over here, I hope I won't be killed by a traitor. I wasn't born to die by the sword of Brutus. So Octavius is also threatening and challenging Brutus over here and saying that don't worry, I know I'm not going to be killed by a traitor. And as far as you are concerned, I can say for sure that I am not going to die at the hands of Brutus. Now, so let's proceed. I hope so far it has been good. So far it has been clear. Okay, next one. Now Brutus replies to Octavius and says, oh, young man, if you were the noblest of all your family, you couldn't wish for a more honorable death. So Brutus over here is saying that there's nothing more honorable for a Caesar to die at the hands of Brutus. Okay, so whether it's Julius Caesar, whether it's Octavius Caesar or any other Caesar for that reason, so it's nothing, there's nothing more nobler, there's no more nobler death for any Caesar than to die at the hands of Brutus. That's what Brutus is saying to Octavius now. So Cassius says to Octavius, you're just an angry schoolboy, unworthy of being killed by Brutus, joining forces with this parting socialite Antony. So Cassius is also taunting Octavius over here and calling him just nothing but just a schoolboy, angry schoolboy, who's showing his frustration, and you are too dishonorable to be killed at the hands of Brutus, and you have come here while along with such a party boy Antony. So basically what's happening, lots of taunting is going around. Okay, now let's proceed then.
Old Cassius still.
Come, Antony, away. Defiance, traitors, hurl we in your teeth. If you dare fight today, come to the field. If not, when you have stomachs.
Why now, blow wind, swell billow, and swim bark. The storm is up, and all is on the hazard.
Ho, Lucilius! Hark, a word with you.
My lord.
Messala?
What says my general?
Okay, so after Cassius hurls his taunt, then Antony replies and says to Cassius, still the same old Cassius, like you still have the same old audacity that you had earlier, you're still audacious. Then Octavius says to Antony, come on Antony, let's go. Traitors, and then he refers to Brutus and Cassius and says, traitors will defy you to your face, we'll defeat you. And we are challenging you and we will defeat you. Okay, like in Hindi we say that bol kar harana. That's what he's doing over here. So he's giving an open challenge to Brutus and Cassius and saying that we'll defeat you to your face. If you dare to fight us today, come to the battlefield. If not, wait until you feel brave enough. So Octavius has also challenged both Brutus and Cassius that if you feel like fighting, come to the battlefield today, and if you don't have the courage to do that, come to the battlefield. Then when you develop that, then Octavius and Antony leave. Okay, leave the from the middle, and they go back to the battle formation. Now Cassius over here says, when why let the wind blow, the waves swell, and the ship sail? There's a storm brewing, and everything is at risk. Okay. So now the meaning over here, there's a hidden meaning over here that he's saying. He's saying that let's not wait for any more. Otherwise, we may lose the advantage of striking. Okay. Why let the wind blow, the waves swell, and the ship sail? Okay. So what he's saying over here is, why wait for time, so that why wait for the time to pass, and such elements of nature are being used to show the same thing. There's a storm brewing, and everything is at risk. Okay, so it's time to go all in. It's time to attack with our full forces. It's time to fire all cylinders. That's what Cassius is saying. Then Brutus calls Lucilius, his subcommander, and he says, listen, I'd like to have a word with you. Lucilius says, yes, my lord. And then Brutus and Lucilius go separate way. Then Cassius calls Messala, and then Messala asks, what's that, general? Like, what do you want to say? Okay, let's proceed then.
Messala, this is my birthday, as this very day was Cassius born. Give me thy hand, Messala. Be thou my witness that against my will, as Pompey was, am I compelled to set upon one battle all our liberties. You know that I held Epicurus strong and his opinion. Now I change my mind, and partly credit things that do presage. Coming from Sardis, on our former ensign, 2 mighty eagles fell, and there they perched, gorging and feeding from our soldiers' hands, who to Philippi here consorted us. This morning are they fled away and gone, and in their steads do ravens, crows, and kites fly o'er our heads, and downward look on us as we were sickly prey. Their shadows seem a canopy most fatal, under which our army lies, ready to give up the ghost.
Believe not so.
I but believe it partly. For I am fresh of spirit and resolved to meet all perils very constantly.
Now, as we can see over here, that the the inner fear of Cassius is coming forward. See, whenever someone is guilty of something, they will face justice, and justice does dwell upon the guilty. Okay, so that's what's happening over here. So Cassius says to Messala, this is my birthday. I was born this very day. Give me your hand, Messala. You'll be my witness, and that I do not want to risk all of our freedoms on this one battle. But I compelled to, just as Pompey was in the civil war against Caesar. So now over here, so he is saying to Messala that since I am compelled to face this battle, that is why I am here to battle. And if my freedom was not at stake, I would not have been here to battle this. Okay? And then he's comparing himself to Pompey. Like, just as Pompey was compelled to fight against Caesar because his freedom was at risk, in the same way, I am also compelled to fight over here because my freedom is at risk. You know that I've always admired Epicurus and his philosophy, which denies any influence of the supernatural on human events. I am starting to wonder if there isn't some truth in omens. Now, see, traditionally, Romans have a very strict belief as far as omens are concerned. Omens are considered to be, bad, in a way, bad messengers or messengers of a bad future activity. Okay. So Romans were firm believers in omens. But there was a Roman called Epicurus who was not such a firm believer. And he used to, he just used to dismiss such bad omens. That's what Antony says. Sorry, that's what Cassius says to Messala. That earlier I used to be a stern believer in Epicurus, but now I have actually started believing that some of the omens may have some truth. Okay, when we were coming here from Sardis, two eagles landed on our foremost battle flag, perched there, and took food from the hands of our soldiers. They traveled with us all the way to Philippi. So while the battle, while the the army, while the joint armies of Brutus and Cassius was coming from Sardis to Philippi, two eagles accompanied their battle flags, and not only that, they also fed from the hands of the soldiers. Okay, and in fact, those two eagles accompanied Cassius and Brutus from Sardis to Philippi. But once they got here, that both the eagles have vanished. Okay, so eagles are actually seen as messengers from the Almighty Zeus. Okay, and that clearly it is seen as a good sign of the future. But when there's no eagles, it's seen rather ravens and you can say ravens and other vultures or like birds like that. So it's seen as a bad omen. So Cassius says over here, but this morning they had flown off, and ravens, crows, and other birds of prey have come to take their place. These fly over our heads and look down at us, though we were their struggling prey. The shadows from these birds seem to make a dark cloud under which our army lies prepared to die. Okay, so what he's saying over here is that he is expressing his fear that this may be a battle in which the army of Cassius and Brutus may get defeated. And it seems as if the ravens are waiting for them to, since you guys know that as far as ravens are concerned, vultures are concerned, they are actually what do you say? In a way, I think you know very well. So they are the nature's garbage cleaning system. Okay, and they actually finish up when they finish up the leftovers. There's actually a term for them. I am just unable to recall that term. Scavengers. I think that's the term for them. So these are scavenger birds. All right. So they clean up the people, or they clean up the bodily remains of soldiers and animals, whichever die off and stay behind and are left behind. Okay, so it seems as if the scavengers are circling the sky and forming a dark cloud. Now, this dark cloud is not just getting formed over the armies of Brutus and Cassius, but also the dark cloud is getting formed for the destiny of Brutus and Cassius. That's what he's saying over here. Now, so Messala says, don't believe that. Also, this is the day that Cassius was born, and this may be the day that he might fall. That's what he said. Now, Cassius says, I only half believe it. I am full of vigor and resolved to meet all dangers resolutely. Now, after Messala says that, don't say such bad things. Look, the point is that Cassius is the commander of his army, and if he'll be so negative, then so it will have devastating effect on his own army, right? So that's why the sub-commander Messala says to Cassius that, don't say such things and don't believe such things. Okay, so then Cassius says, I'm not fully believing it. I'm only partly believing it. I am still full of rigor. I'm still full of vigor to face whatever happens today. Okay. So let's proceed over here then.
Even so, Lucilius.
Now, most noble Brutus, the gods today stand friendly that we may, lovers in peace, lead on our days to age. But since the affairs of men rest still uncertain, let's reason with the worst that may befall. If we do lose this battle, then is this the very last time we shall speak together. What are you then determined to do?
Even by the rule of that philosophy, by which I did blame Cato for the death which he did give himself, I know not how, but I do find it cowardly and vile, for fear of what might fall, so to prevent the time of life, arming myself with patience to stay the providence of some high powers that govern us below.
Then if we lose this battle, You are contented to be led in triumph through the streets of Rome?
Okay. Now, as you guys saw that, so Brutus and Cassius have a conversation, and then Brutus was just coming towards Cassius, and still says, "It's just like that." Even so, Lucilius, like it seems as if Brutus and Lucilius had a conversation about something. We'll get to know in the future. And then, as he approaches Cassius, then Cassius says to Brutus, "Now, most noble Brutus, may the gods favor us today, so that we live on into old age." So he's just saying for a good thing, like may this happen. Like whenever you face an exam or you face a tough situation, you always wish for the best outcome. So that's exactly what Cassius is saying to Brutus over here. But because one can never predict human affairs, let's consider the worst that might happen. Then Cassius says, in a very subtle way, that the future is uncertain and who knows what's going to happen in the future. So let's also be prepared. Let's also be prepared for the worst. Like it's always said that expect the best but be prepared for the worst. Okay, hope for the best but be prepared for the worst. So that's exactly what's happening over here. And Cassius says, if we lose this battle, this will be the last time we speak to each other. What will you do if we lose? Then Cassius asks Brutus that what exactly has Brutus decided should they lose this particular battle against Octavius and Antony. Now, so Brutus says over here, for the same reason I blamed Cato for killing himself. I find it cowardly and vile, although I don't know why, to commit suicide in fear of what might happen later in life. So Brutus, there was someone called Cato who killed himself out of fear of losing. So Brutus says over here, it's because it's the same reason why Cato killed himself, and I certainly blamed him for because I think it's very cowardly and vile and a very bad thing to kill yourself, to suicide out of fear that you're going to lose. I will be patient and endure what the gods who rule us have in store for me. So then Brutus says, even if we lose the battle, I am not going to kill myself. I would rather like to see what gods have in favor for me. What God have in future for me. Okay. And then Cassius says that, then if we lose this battle, you're content to be led through the streets of Rome as a captive in their triumphal procession. Because this was like earlier, this used to happen. And that Romans, after defeating their enemies, the POWs, the prisoners of war that they are taken, they used to torture them first and then take along them after tying them behind the chariots of the victorious generals. Okay, while on the streets, the Romans used to throw tomatoes and eggs and other such, while insulting the POWs, and they used to throw the tomatoes and eggs at the faces of the POWs. Somebody would rather throw a shoe or something. So they used to insult the POWs like that. Okay. So that's what he's saying over here. So that's what Cassius asked Brutus, that are you prepared to endure that? So then if we lose this battle, you're content to be led through the streets of Rome as a captive, like a POW in their triumphal procession?
No, Cassius, no. Think not, thou noble Roman, that ever Brutus will go bound to Rome. He bears too great a mind. But this same day must end that work the Ides of March begun, and whether we shall meet again I know not. Therefore our everlasting farewell take. Forever and forever farewell, Cassius. If we do meet again, why, we shall smile. If not, why then this parting was well made.
Forever and forever farewell, Brutus. If we do meet again, we'll smile indeed. If not, 'tis true this parting was well made.
Why then lead on. Oh, that a man might know the end of this day's business ere it come. But it sufficeth that the day will end, and then the end is known. Come, ho, away.
Now, when Cassius asked Brutus if Brutus was mentally ready to be taken around as a prisoner of war, getting insulted all the way in the victory position of the opponents, then Brutus says, "No, it's not going to be like that. No, Cassius, I'm not. Noble Roman, I don't think I will ever be led in the chains to the streets of Rome. I have too great a character for that." So Brutus totally contradicts Cassius and says that, "No, don't think I'm going to be comfortable with that. It's not going to happen. I am too noble for such kind of thing to happen to me." Okay, but today will end what the 15th of March or the Ides of March began. And I don't know whether we'll ever meet again or not. Therefore, let's say an everlasting farewell. Farewell forever and forever, Cassius. If we do meet again, we'll smile thinking about this. If not, then we'll have parted again. Okay. So then Brutus says to Cassius that no matter what happens today, today is going to end what began on the Ides of March. That is the conspiracy to kill Caesar. That's going to be, so today is going to be the end of that. And if that happens, that if we don't meet again, let's just say that it was good partnering with you, and it's a farewell. Well, it's let's say that it's everlasting farewell for us. And if we do meet again, we'll smile about what happens today. And if we don't, we have parted well, and we have partnered well as well. Okay. Then Cassius also says to Brutus in a similar tone, "Farewell forever and forever, Brutus. If we do meet again, we'll definitely smile, and if not, then it's true that these were goodbyes well said." So Cassius says to Brutus in a contented way that, "Yes, my friend, if we do meet again, we'll smile about today, and if that does not happen, then let's just say that have, uh, you know, we have bid farewell in a good way." And then Brutus replies before heading off that, "Why then, lead on? Oh, if only men could know the outcome of a day's endeavor before it's begun. But it's enough to know that the day will end, and then the end will be known. Come on, let's go." So Brutus is now ready to go on with the battle along with his own commander, along with his own particular army. And that's why before leaving, he says to Cassius that only if we knew what's going to happen by the end, at the beginning of it itself. Okay. But it's enough to know that there would be an end for sure. And while saying that, Brutus now just speeds off along with his contingent towards the battle formation. Okay. So I think now, students, all of you do understand what's happening here. Okay. So there's certainly a battle that's going to take place. So let's go towards Act 5, Scene 2. I hope Act 5, Scene 1 was clear to you. If there's any thought, any doubt in your mind, any thought, any doubt, any concern, you are most welcome to put that in the comment section. Okay. All right. Let's go towards the Scene 2 summary.
In a quick scene in the midst of battle, Brutus sends Messala to tell Cassius to attack quickly.
Ride, ride, Messala. Let them all come down.
Now it seems like a very small scene. So let's just check out what this scene is about. So as you already know that the battle's happening right now, it's Octavius versus Brutus and Antony versus Cassius at this moment. So over here, Brutus shouts to Messala an instruction. Okay. So, but in this particular battle scene, Brutus and Messala are at the particular stage, and Brutus is signaling to something to Messala. So
Ride, ride, Messala, ride, and give these bills unto the legions on the other side. Let them set on at once, for I perceive but cold demeanor in Octavius' wing, and sudden push gives them the overthrow. Ride, ride, Messala, let them all come down.
Now, see, Brutus is actually a very, very good and a very intelligent general. Okay, he is very battle hardened, so he reads the body language very well. Okay, and he observed the body language of Octavius Caesar's army, and that's why he quickly signals to Messala to come to him and head towards the other contingent of Antony, so that head towards the other contingent of Cassius, so that they can attack, or rather, some part of Brutus's contingent is still not attacking, so that's why he sends Masala to ensure that the rest of the contingent also joins them. Okay, so ride Masala, give these instructions to the legions on the other side of the formation. Let them begin the battle at once, for I can see that Octavius's troops are in low spirits, and with a sudden push, we can defeat them. Ride on Masala, let them advance. So quickly, now what happens over here? So we can say in a way that Brutus has the upper hand against Octavius. And since Brutus is way more experienced than Octavius, this was bound to happen at some stage in the battle. Okay, so that's what's happening over here. Brutus is signaling to Masala to get another contingent to join them so that they can actually suppress and defeat the army of Octavius. Okay, because the army of Octavius seems quite low on energy and seems quite low on morale right now. Okay, so that's just a very small scene. Let's go towards the next scene. What's happened? What's happened in scene 3? Let's see that.
Meanwhile, Cassius and Titinius worry that they're losing the battle.
Oh, Cassius, Brutus gave the word too early. Whilst we by Antony are all enclosed.
Pindarus arrives with more bad news.
Mark Antony is in your tents, my lord. Fly, therefore, noble Cassius, fly far off.
Cassius tells Titinius to ride to the tents to see if the troops there are friends or enemies.
And he sends Pindarus farther up the hill to watch what happens to Titinius.
Cassius starts to think that today, his birthday, will also be the day of his death.
This day I breathed first. Time has come round. And where I did begin, there shall I end. My life is run his compass.
Pindarus says it looks like Titinius has been captured.
Cassius tells Pindarus to come back, and then he orders Pindarus to help him kill himself.
Here, take thou the hilts, and when my face is covered, as 'tis now, guide thou the sword. Caesar, thou art revenged, even with the sword that killed thee.
O Cassius, far from this country Pindarus shall run, where never Roman shall take note of him.
Titinius and Messala return with good news. Pindarus was wrong. Titinius was greeted by friends, not captured by enemies. Brutus defeated Octavius.
Octavius is overthrown by noble Brutus' power.
These tidings will well comfort Cassius.
Then they notice Cassius on the ground.
Titinius is distraught.
O setting sun, as in thy red rays thou dost sink tonight, so in his red blood Cassius' day is set. The sun of Rome is set.
Messala leaves to tell Brutus that Cassius is dead.
Left alone with the body of Cassius, Titinius decides to kill himself.
Take this garland on thy brow. Thy Brutus bid me give it thee, and I will do his bidding. Brutus, come apace, and see how I regarded Caius Cassius. By your leave, gods, this is a Roman's part. Come, Cassius' sword, and find Titinius' heart.
Brutus and some soldiers return with Messala, and see that now Titinius too is dead.
O Julius Caesar, thou art mighty yet. Thy spirit walks abroad and turns our swords in our own proper entrails.
But there's no time to lose. They must continue the fight.
Friends, I owe more tears to this dead man than you shall see me pay. I shall find time, Cassius. I shall find time.
Now, as all of you can see, it's certainly very, very important what's happening over here. And, you know, so Cassius, now as you already saw in the previous scene, that Octavius is in a tough situation, and Brutus actually has, Brutus being the battle-hardened Brutus general that he, being the battle-hardened general that he is, saw an opportunity and is going to attack Octavius Caesar in a much harder way now. Okay, so what's happening over here? But on the other way, so Cassius and Titnus are standing on a hill far away, and they actually, because Cassius' army is engaged with, is certainly getting attacked, or rather battling against Antony's army right now. So Cassius, oh look Titnus, look the villains fly. Okay, so let's just check out what they speak first, and then I explain to you. Okay.
Oh, look, Titinius, look, the villains fly. Myself have to mine own turned enemy. This ensign here of mine was turning back. I slew the coward and did take it from him.
O Cassius, Brutus gave the word too early, who having some advantage on Octavius took it too eagerly. His soldiers fell to spoil, whilst we by Antony are all enclosed.
Fly further off, my lord, fly further off. Mark Antony is in your tents, my lord. Fly, therefore, noble Cassius, fly far off.
All right, guys. So as you can see that at the moment, and on the stage there's Cassius and Titnus, and the background music is of battle which is going on right now, and Antony's forces are clashing against Cassius's forces. Okay, so oh look, Titnus, look, our own soldiers are running away. Now Mark Antony is also extremely battle hardened, right? So it's not very easy to defeat him or his soldiers, and they have right now the upper hand against the soldiers of Cassius, and that's why, while facing defeat, many of Cassius' soldiers are running away. Okay, so that's what Cassius says while observing his soldiers from a hill. Oh look, Titnus, look, our own soldiers are running away. I have had to fight them. Even our flag bearers was turning tail. So I killed the coward and took the flag from him. Okay, so Cassius is mourning his incumbent loss over here and saying to Titnus that look, my own soldiers are running away, and even while running away, Cassius tried to stop them, but they did not stop. So Cassius had to fight them, and they fought off and ran off, and after fighting temporarily. Then even the flag bearer of Cassius was also running away, but Cassius killed him out of frustration and took the flag from that flag bearer. Okay. Now Titnus says, "Oh Cassius," Titnus is also observing, but he's observing Brutus right now and his soldiers. So he says, "Oh Cassius, Brutus gave the command too early for his troops to break ranks and pursue the enemy. He had some success over Octavius, but he took it too eagerly. Now, while his soldiers are off looting, we've been surrounded by Antony's forces." Okay. So, as you already saw in the end of the previous scene, that Brutus called off some part of his contingent from Antony towards Octavius, to fight off Octavius, right? So that's what Titnus says over here, that Brutus gave the signal too early, and he has called off his contingent back too early to fight off Octavius. And while we are surrounded on three sides by Mark Antony. So like I told you, Mark Antony is an extremely battle-hardened soldier, and he has managed to surround Cassius from three sides. Okay, so certainly we can say that Mark Antony is going to is going for the kill over here. Now Pindarus arrives on a horse, and he seems very startled, and he says to Cassius Retreat further, my lord. Go away. Retreat further. Mark Antony has reached your camp, my lord. Retreat, noble Cassius. Retreat farther away. So he wants, now Pindarus wants Chaos Cassius to run away from there and go further off while riding on the horse, because what's happening is that Mark Antony has reached the tents, the resting tents of Chaos Cassius. All right. Now, so what happens? Let's proceed. Let's see.
This hill is far enough. Look, look, Titinius. Are those my tents where I perceive the fire?
They are, my lord.
Titinius, if thou lovest me, mount thou my horse, and hide thy spurs in him, till he have brought thee up to yonder troops, and here again, that I may rest assured whether yonder troops are friend or enemy.
I will be here again, even with a thought.
Go, Pindarus, get higher on that hill. My sight was ever thick. Regard Titinius, and tell me what thou notest about the field. This day I breathed first. Time is come round, and where I did begin, there shall I end. My life is run his compass. Sirrah, what news?
Oh, my lord.
What news?
Now, so as Pindarus asks Cassius to run off, because Pindarus thinks that Mark Antony has reached the tents of Cassius, so Cassius says that this hill we're on is far enough. Look, Titnus, are those my tents on fire over there? So that does it seem that my troops have reached there, or the enemy troops have reached there? Friendly troops or enemy troops? So Titnus says, yes, there are, my lord, that those tents which seem to be on fire are your troops. Now, then he turns to Titanus and says that if you're my friend, take my horse and dig your spurs into him until you reach those troops over there and return. I have to know whether those troops are friendly or enemies. Okay. So Cassius over here does not want to take the risk himself because he thinks he might be captured. So he plays the emotional card over here. He's going to die, by the way, and still he's playing the emotional card. So that tells you how clever, or rather I would say how what a great manipulator Cassius is. Okay, so he manipulates Titnus and he says that if you have any regard for me, take my horse and go and check out those tents which you say are my tents, and see, and don't stop in the middle. Immediately dig in the spurs into the horse. All right. So just keep on hitting the horse unless you reach there, and then return quickly while telling me, so that you can inform me whether those troops are friendly or enemy troops. Okay. So Titnus says, I'll be there and back again as quick as a thought. Okay. So I'll immediately go and return as soon as possible. Okay. Now, on the other hand, Cassius asks Pindarus to go up that hill, okay, to go to the summit point of the hill, and see from there and observe Titnus. Okay, observe Titnus. So Cassius says to Pindarus, go higher up on that hill. My eyesight has always been bad. Look around, Titnus, and tell me what you notice happening on the battlefield. Okay, so then what happens is that Titnus goes to the summit point of that particular hill and Pindarus goes to the summit point of that hill and starts observing Titnus as Titnus approaches the tents of Cassius. Now, then as he ascends the hill, so Cassius says to himself, this is the day I was born, and now time has come the full circle, full turn. Okay, so I am likely to die the same day I was born. My life has completed its circle. And then, so Mark, I don't know why I'm saying Mark Antony again and again. So Cassius over here has come to the terms with the fact that he is going to die for sure. All right, and he asks Pindarus, "What's happening? What do you observe?" Pinterest says, "Oh my lord," and Cassius says, "What is it? What news? Why are you reacting like that?"
Titinius is enclosed round about with horsemen that make to him on the spur. Yet he spurs on. Now they are almost on him. Now, Titinius. Now some light. Oh, he lights too. He's ta'en. And hark, they shout for joy.
Come down, behold no more. O coward that I am to live so long, to see my best friend ta'en before my face. Come hither, Sirrah. In Parthia did I take thee prisoner, and then I swore thee, saving of thy life, that whatsoever I did bid thee do, thou shouldst attempt it. Come now, keep thine oath. Now be a freeman. And with this good sword that ran through Caesar's bowels, search this bosom. Stand not to answer. Here, take thou the hilts. And when my face is covered, as 'tis now, guide thou the sword. Caesar, thou art revenged, even with the sword that killed thee.
Well, there's a saying in Christian mythology that the Lord works in mysterious ways, and it's one of those mysterious ways that has unfolded over here. So Pindarus, going back to what's happening over here, Pindarus conveys his observation to uh, Cassius. All right, and he says that Tithonus is surrounded by a cavalry galloping towards him, but he's riding on. Now they've almost reached him. Tithonus, now some of the soldiers are dismounting. Oh, he's dismounting too, and he's been captured. So Pindarus thinks that Tithonus has been captured by those soldiers who were camping at that particular tent. And listen, they are shouting for joy. So they are shouting in joy. So most probably they think that Tithonus has been captured. Okay. So that's what's happening over here. Now Cassius says, "Come down." He says to Pindarus, "Come down. You've seen enough. Oh, I'm a coward to see my best friend captured before my eyes." So now Cassius is blaming himself for Tithonus being captured like the way he is being. Okay, as conveyed by Pindarus. Now, come here. In Parthia, when I took you prisoner, I made you swear that in return for my sparing of your life, you would attempt to carry out anything that I ever asked you. Now, don't break that oath. So, most probably, over here, this guy Pindarus was actually the slave of Cassius, because Pindarus was taken prisoner by Cassius, and Cassius had kept him alive so far on the oath that Pindarus has to do no matter what Cassius asks him to do. So that's exactly the same oath Cassius reminds Pindarus about. Okay, then he says, "Now don't break that oath. Now I give you your freedom. Now I give you your freedom. Now I give you your freedom. Just take this good sword that ran through Caesar and run it through me. Here, hold it by the hilt. And now that I have have my face covered, thrust the sword." Okay. So what happens over here is that Cassius reminds Pindarus of the oath that Cassius has given him, and then he asks Pindarus to, so that when I cover my face the way I have right now, you run this sword which I ran into Caesar once. So you run my sword into my chest right away. Okay, so he wants to commit suicide. Okay, so that's exactly what's happening over here. So now Pindarus stabs Cassius, and Cassius is dying. But before dying, he says a few words: "Caesar, thou art avenged." Okay, thou art revenged even with the sword that killed thee. So this is the might of Caesar. So even the conspirator who conspired everything, who actually created the whole conspiracy to kill Caesar, is getting killed, and still saying the words of Caesar, and still saying that, "Yes, Caesar, you have avenged your death even after dying." Okay, so this tells us about the magnificence of Julius Caesar. Okay, so that's why it says that Lord works in mysterious ways. And if you do recall, in one of the previous scenes, in the previous act, I think the last scene, Brutus saw the wounded ghost of Caesar, and Caesar said to Brutus that I'll be at Philippi and you'll see me. We'll meet again at Philippi. Okay, so see, in a way, Caesar is here. Okay. Now, with Cassius' death, Pindarus is free. So, this is how it's happened.
So I am free, yet would not so have been durst I have done my will. O Cassius, far from this country Pindarus shall run, where never Roman shall take note of him.
It is but change, Titinius, for Octavius is overthrown by noble Brutus' power, as Cassius' legions are by Antony.
These tidings will well comfort Cassius.
Where did you leave him?
All disconsolate, with Pindarus his bondman on this hill.
Alright, now Pindarus stays over here. So now I am free, although I would not be so if it had been heaped up to me. Oh Cassius, I'll run far away from this country where no Roman will ever find me. So Pindarus was actually a slave of Caius Cassius, and now that he has slain Caius Cassius, so Pindarus is now a free man, and he says that, although but I did not wish to be free in this way. Now it has happened and I am free, so I am going to run off as far as I can where no Roman could ever reach me. Okay. So you can also say that Pindarus is also frustrated in a way. Now, as Pindarus exits, so Tithonus re-enters the stage along with Messala. And Messala says that it's just a change of fortune in battle, Tithonus, for Octavius's forces have been defeated by Brutus, just as Cassius's army had been defeated by Antony's. So now this is a very contradictory situation. So at one way, towards one side, so towards one side, what's happening over here is that Cassius has been defeated by the army of Mark Antony, and on the other side, Octavius Caesar has got his army has got defeated by the army of Brutus. Okay, so that's happening over here. Now Tithonus says this news should comfort Cassius that Brutus is victorious. Now Messala asks Tithonus that where did you leave him? So Tithonus says he was very distressed standing here on this hill with his bondman, with his slave, that Pindarus. Okay, now what happens? Let's proceed.
Is not that he that lies upon the ground?
He lies not like the living. O my heart.
Is not that he?
No, this was he, Messala. But Cassius is no more. O setting sun, as in thy red rays thou dost sink tonight, so in his red blood Cassius' day is set. The sun of Rome is set. Our day is gone. Clouds, dews, and dangers come. Our deeds are done. Mistrust of my success hath done this deed.
Mistrust of good success hath done this deed. O hateful error, melancholy's child, why dost thou show to the apt thoughts of men the things that are not? O error soon conceived, thou never comest unto a happy birth, but kill'st the mother that engendered thee.
Okay, so now Messala points towards. So since they are on their horse and they are galloping towards, or we can say that not galloping to be rather, but gently ascending the hill on which Cassius lies. So after reaching within a certain visual range, then Messala confirms with Tithonus that isn't that Cassius on lying on the ground, and Tithonus says, Oh, that isn't how the living lies down. Oh my heart. Okay, now Tithnis comes face to face with the fact that Cassius is killed. Cassius has died. And Masala says, isn't that him? He just reconfirms. Tithnis says, no, it was him, Masala. That means that Cassius is no more. But Cassius is no more. Oh, setting sun, just as you set into a red sky, Cassius's day has sunk into his red blood. So now Masala gets a bit emotional. Sorry, not Masala. Tithnis gets a bit emotional, and he compares the setting of the sun with the setting of the sun of Cassius's life. Okay, so while in the evening, while setting, the sun seems quite red. In the same way, the blood of Cassius is also in this as red as the red setting sun. Now storms and dangers will come, no more great deeds. This tragedy resulted from his fear that I would discover that approaching cavalry were the enemy. So Tithnis blames himself for the misperception that the enemy has reached the tents of of this particular side, or rather, in fact, two things happened over here. So one of the things that happened earlier is that Tithnis was the one who thought that Brutus has given the signal too early, and now they are going to be captured and defeated and captured. And then Pindalus says that the enemy has reached the tents, and Tithnis went to check that. So all of this created a very depressed scenario, or a gloomy scenario for Cassius. So that's why Tithnis is blaming himself for the death of Cassius over here, and he is saying that now the sun of Rome has set. So this can be a very good question for you in the board exams. Like, Tithnis is comparing Cassius to the son of Rome. So who do you think should be called the actual son of Rome? Should it be Cassius? Should it be Julius Caesar? Or should it be Mark Antony or Brutus? Just think about this. Just prepare an answer about this. All right. And do you agree that with the killing of Cassius, the son of Rome has set, or did it set earlier when Julius Caesar was killed? Now, then Masala tries to console Tithnis, and he says, Cassius's misreading of my good discovery cased this horrible deed. It's not about you. It's not because of you, Tithnis. It's Cassius' misreading about my discovery, about my actions, this particular deed. Oh, error of misreading, bad for God, stemming from the pessimism. Why do you make such susceptible men see things that aren't true? Now Masala starts blaming the gods for men understanding and perceiving things which are not true. Okay? Oh, error, so hastily conceived. Instead of giving birth to a happy outcome, you always end up killing the mind who conceived you. Now, so what's happening? Masala is also, blaming the thought process, and he's saying that he's blaming errors. Okay, so instead of giving us happy outcome, why do you always give us the wrong outcomes and the ones which should have never happened in the first place? Okay. Now Tithnis replies to Masala, Pindarus, where are you, Pindarus? So actually he is calling to Pindarus. So let's check that out first, and then we proceed towards the comprehension part.
What, Pindarus? Where art thou, Pindarus?
Seek him, Titinius, whilst I go to meet the noble Brutus, thrusting this report into his ears. I may say thrusting it, for piercing steel and darts envenomed shall be as welcome to the ears of Brutus as tidings of this sight.
Hie you, Masala, and I will seek for Pindarus the while. Why didst thou send me forth, brave Cassius? Did I not meet thy friends, and did they not put on my brows this wreath of victory, and bid me give it thee? Didst thou not hear their shouts? Alas, thou hast misconstrued everything. But hold thee, take this garland on thy brow. Thy Brutus bid me give it thee, and I will do his bidding. Brutus, come apace, and see how I regarded Caius Cassius. By your leave, gods, this is a Roman's part. Come, Cassius' sword, and find Titinius' heart.
All right. Now Titanius starts searching for Pindarus, and he starts shouting that, "Where are you, Pindarus?" Now Masala says to Titanus that go look for him. You know, Titanus, I'll go meet Brutus and thrust this news into his ears. I say thrust because a stabbing blade of poison or a poison dart would be as welcome as news of this sight. So Masala says that I'll go and inform Brutus about the death of Cassius, and it's going to be a very pinching sight for him because I know how dear he held Cassius. So this news is just like just like Brutus getting stung or getting hit or getting thrusted with a poisonous dart. Okay. Now, so and seek Pindarus in between. That's what he says. Go, Masala. I'll look for Pindarus in the meantime. And then he says, okay, yeah, you go. I'll just see where is Pindarus in the meantime. Then Titnus says to himself and to the dead body of Cassius, why did you send me as a scout, brave Cassius? Didn't I meet up with your friends? Didn't they put this victory wreath on my head and tell me to give it to you? Didn't you hear the shouts? Alas, you misunderstood everything. But wait, take this victory wreath onto your head. So I think that is the victory wreath when because Brutus defeated the army of Octavius Caesar, and that's the reason why Brutus had that victory wreath. So what happened is that when they reached the tents of Gallus Cassius and Titnus went to check on them, so they put that wreath on Titnus, okay, on the head of Titnus, and asked him to go back and inform Cassius. So that's happening over here. That Titanus is saying these things to the dead body of Cassius. How could you misread all of these things? Okay, but since I have this victory wreath on my head, I am going to put this on your head. Okay, so that when Brutus comes, he sees how have I honored you. Okay, but wait, take this victory wreath onto your head. Your friend Brutus asked me to give it to you, and I'll do what he asked. Brutus, come quickly and see how I admire Cos Cassius. Excuse me, God, this is my duty as a Roman. Come, Cassius' sword, and pierce my heart. So then he, after giving that particular wreath putting that wreath on the dead body of Cos Cassius, Titnus says that, come, Brutus, and see how I regarded Cos Cassius. And then he seeks mercy from the gods for killing himself, and he says this is the duty of what an actual Roman should do. And then with the sword of Cassius, he kills himself. Titanus stabs himself in the heart and kills himself. Okay. And then trumpets call, and Messala with Brutus, Cato, and Strato enter over here. Enter the scene. Cato perhaps tried to kill himself earlier, as we know.
Where, Messala, doth his body lie?
Lo, yonder, and Titinius mourning it.
Titinius' face is upward.
He is slain.
O Julius Caesar, thou art mighty yet. Thy spirit walks abroad and turns our swords in our own proper entrails.
Brave Titinius, look where he have not crowned dead Cassius.
Are yet 2 Romans living such as these? The last of all the Romans. Fare thee well. It is impossible that ever Rome should breed thy fellow. Friends, I owe more tears to this dead man than you shall see me pay. I shall find time, Cassius, I shall find time. Come, therefore, and to Thassos send his body. His funerals shall not be in our camp, lest it discomfort us. Lucilius, come, and come, young Cato. Let us to the field. Labio and Flavius, set our battles on. 'Tis 3 o'clock, and Romans, yet ere night we shall try fortune in a second fight.
Now Masala headed towards Brutus to inform Brutus that he has died. So this Cassius has died. So now Brutus, while ascending the hill where the dead bodies of Cassius and Titanus lie, so he asked Masala, "Where is his body?" Masala says, "It's over there where Titanus is mourning." Brutus says that this is a very strange way of mourning. His face is upward and he seems lifeless. And Brutus says Titanus is facing upward. And Cato says, "He's been killed." Then Brutus says, "Oh, Julius Caesar, you still have power in this world. Your spirit still walks amongst us. Your ghost walks amongst us and turns our swords into our own guts." Okay. So now Brutus is spinning this on the ghost of Caesar. Now still battles. So what's happening over here? I think Antony is challenging. Antony's army is victorious and over Cassius. So now his army is marching on so that they could face the army of Brutus, which has defeated Octavius. So low trumpet calls being held over here. Now Cato says, "Brave Titanus, look, he has crowned dead Cassius with the victory wreath." Now, so Cato also noticed that the way in which Titanus has actually crowned the body of Cassius, the dead body of Cassius over here. "Are there any two living Romans who would equal these men? To the last of the Romans, farewell. It is impossible another like you will ever be born in Rome. Friends, I should weep more for these deaths than you will see me do. I will find time, Cassius. I will find time." So as you know that Antony is closing in and it's time for Brutus to go and face off against Antony. So still Brutus is spending some time with the dead bodies of Cassius and Titanus while saying that he will come back later to mourn for them properly. "Are there any two living Romans?" He says that, so he describes the honor over here of Cassius and Titanus. And Brutus says that, "Are there any living Romans left who could match the honor of these two dead Romans over here? To the last of the two Romans, farewell." So, and he calls both of them, Cassius and Titanus, true Romans, and farewell. And he bids farewell to them, and he says that it's never that no other Roman will be as honorable as you two were, friends. And then he turns towards his fellow sub-commanders and says that I will weep for them. Your combined tears and griefs are not as much as I feel for these two men, but I will find time for them properly and then give them the grief and tears that they deserve. I will find time for them. And that's why he says to Cassius, the dead body of Cassius, "I will find time. So come on, send his body to Thessos. His funeral will not be held in our camp, lest it affect the morale." So as I told you that Brutus is extremely battle hardened. So he is actually very, very he says that the dead body of Chaos Cassius should be sent to Thessos. The funeral of Chaos Cassius should not be held in the camps of Brutus, because that can actually put down the morale of his army, because right now his army has a high morale after defeating Octavius Caesar. Okay, so come Lucilius and come young Cato. Let's go back to the battlefield. Labia and Flavius begin the fight. Romans, it's 3 o'clock now, and we shall test our fortunes in the second battle before it's night. Okay, so he calls and he rallies everyone and he takes them towards the battlefield so that they could have a second fight against the army of Antony, which has defeated Caius Cassius. Okay, so next one is going to be an even better, or rather I would say an even greater battle than the one that we have seen over here. So this was, I think, scene 3, I guess. Yes, so now we have to go towards scene 4. Yeah. It's scene 3. Now we'll go towards scene 4. Act 5, scene 4. Another very important scene. So let's check out the summary first.
In the next scene, the battle continues, with Brutus encouraging his men.
Yet, countrymen, oh yet, hold up your heads.
When Brutus moves to a different part of the field, young Cato is killed.
Lucilius surrenders, claiming that he's Brutus, so that the real Brutus can escape.
Kill Brutus and be honored in his death.
We must not, a noble prisoner.
Tell Antony Brutus is taken.
Antony arrives and sees that it's not Brutus who's been captured.
This is not Brutus, friend, but I assure you a prize no less in worth. Go on, and see whether Brutus be alive or dead, and bring us word unto Octavius' tent how everything is chanced.
Now it's a very now what's happening over here is there's a very heavy battle is ensuing. Okay, and soldiers of both the armies of Antony and Brutus are constantly fighting against each other. And then Brutus says over here, and Brutus says to his particular army, his side,
Yet, countrymen, oh, yet hold up your heads.
What bastard doth not? Who will go with me? I will proclaim my name about the field. I am the son of Marcus Cato, ho! A foe to tyrants and my country's friend. I am the son of Marcus Cato, ho!
And I am Brutus, Marcus Brutus I. Brutus, my country's friend. Know me for Brutus. O young and noble Cato, art thou down? Why now thou diest as bravely as Titinius, and mayst be honored being Cato's son.
now seeing his side has been surrounded by, in a way that Antony is going to be victorious. So Brutus rallies his soldiers and then quickly escapes from there. Okay, so he says, keep fighting, countrymen, keep your heads high, and he quickly exits from there. Okay, now Cato is actually, so what he's trying to do is he is taunting the enemy. And he says that which of your bastards is giving up? Who will go with me? I proclaim my name through the battlefield. I am the son of Marcus Cato. I am an enemy to tyrants and a friend to my country. I am the son of Marcus Cato. So what he's doing is he's trying to rally up the enemy and so that they could battle with him. And eventually he's going to get killed. He's going to get killed. So anyway, Lucilius on the other side surrenders. Okay, and he says, he proclaims that he is Brutus so that the real Brutus can escape from there. And he says, I am Brutus, Marcus Brutus. I am Marcus Brutus, a friend to my country. Know that I am Brutus. Now, on the other hand, when Cato was trying to show off his battle skills and he gets killed, then Lucilius, seeing the dead body of Cato, he says, oh, young and noble Cato, have you been killed? Why, you die as bravely as Titanus, and may you be honored as Cato's son. So, as all of you know, that Brutus called Titanus and Caius Cassius as the true Romans. So that's exactly what Lucilius tries to compare Cato with, as true Romans. Okay. Now, Lucilius is also taken prisoner. Now, what happens over here? Let's see.
Yield, or thou diest.
Only I yield to die. There is so much that thou wilt kill me straight. Kill Brutus and be honored in his death.
We must not, a noble prisoner.
Room, ho! Tell Antony, Brutus is ta'en.
I'll tell the news. Here comes the general. Brutus is ta'en! Brutus is ta'en, my lord!
Where is he?
Now, first soldier. Now, the first soldier. So basically, Lucilius has been taken prisoner, and he is saying that he is Brutus to everyone, so that the real Brutus may escape. Okay. So now the first soldier says to he says to Lucilius that surrender or die. Then Lucilius says, I will only yield to death. There's no other way that I'm going to die. Here's some money for you to kill me right away. And then he offers money for the soldier to kill him. And he says, kill Brutus and be honored by my death. But the soldier calms down and he says, we should not. What a noble prisoner he'll make. And then the second soldier says, make some room, tell Antony that Brutus has been captured, has been taken. The first soldier says, I'll tell him the news. Here he comes. Then Antony also enters over there, and the first soldier informs Antony that Brutus has been captured. Brutus has been captured, my lord. Antony says, where is he? Because Antony knows the actual Brutus. That's why he says, where is he exactly? So the foot soldiers don't really. So in those days, the foot soldiers didn't meet royalty regularly. So they don't really know who actually is Brutus. So that's why this confusion happened in the first place.
Safe, Antony, Brutus is safe enough. I dare assure thee that no enemy shall ever take alive the noble Brutus. The gods defend him from so great a shame. When you do find him, or alive or dead, he will be found like Brutus, like himself.
This is not Brutus, friend, but I assure you a prize no less in worth. Keep this man safe. Give him all kindness. I had rather have such men my friends than enemies. Go on, and see whether Brutus be alive or dead, and bring us word unto Octavius' tent, how everything is chanced.
Now Lucilius says to Antony, Brutus is safe, Antony, Brutus is safe enough. I assure you that no enemy will ever take noble Brutus alive. May the gods save him from such a great shame. When you find him, be it alive or dead, he'll be the noble Brutus. So Antony is also extremely clever. He is a great battle-hardened, he's athletic, and he's extremely clever. So he says to his soldiers, this is not Brutus, friend, but I can assure you that this man is a prize hardly less worthy. So what's happening over here is Antony understands and honors the loyalty of Lucilius. Okay, and that's why he says, keep this man safe and treat him kindly. I would rather have men like him as my friends and not my enemies. Go and see whether Brutus is alive or dead, and bring word to Octavius' tent how everything turns out and what happens. Okay, so he orders his soldier to go and find Brutus, dead or alive, and then come back and report to Octavius' tent no matter what happens. Okay.
Although Brutus got away, he realizes that the battle is lost.
Come, poor remains of friends, rest on this rock.
He knows he must kill himself or be taken prisoner.
Slaying is the word. It is a deed in fashion.
He starts looking for someone to hold his sword so that he can kill himself.
What? I, my lord? No, not for all the world.
Shall I do such a deed?
Come hither, Volumnius. Our enemies have beat us to the pit. It is more worthy to leap in ourselves than tarry till they push us. I prithee, hold thou my sword hilt whilst I run on it.
That's not an office for a friend, my lord.
The enemy can be heard getting closer.
Fly, fly, my lord. There is no tarrying here.
Brutus tells them all to run,
Hence, I will follow.
but asks Strato to stay.
I prithee, Strato, stay thou by thy lord. Hold then my sword, and turn away thy face, while I do run upon it. Wilt thou, Strato?
Give me your hand first. Fare you well, my lord.
Farewell, good Strato. Caesar, now be still. I killed not thee with half so good a will.
Octavius and Antony arrive with their armies and captives. When they learn that Brutus took his own life,
I held the sword, and he did run on it.
they have nothing but words of praise for him.
This was the noblest Roman of them all. All the conspirators, save only he, did that they did in envy of great Caesar. His life was gentle, and the elements so mixed in him that nature might stand up and say to all the world, this was a man.
Within my tent his bones tonight shall lie, most like a soldier ordered honorably. So call the field to rest and let's away, to part the glories of this happy day.
And so ends the tragedy of Julius Caesar by William Shakespeare.
So it's another very short scene, and it's going to be the last scene of this whole play of Julius Caesar. And in this particular scene, Brutus, Dardanius, Clitus, Strato, and Voluminus all enter. And Brutus says, "Come, poor remains of friends." So let's just go to this particular, board.
Come, poor remains of friends, rest on this rock.
Statilius showed the torchlight, but my lord, he came not back. He is or ta'en or slain.
Sit thee down, Clitus. Slaying is the word. It is a deed in fashion. Hark thee, Clitus.
What, I, my lord? No, not for all the world.
Peace, then. No words.
I'll rather kill myself.
Hark thee, Dardanius.
Shall I do such a deed?
Now, Brutus is actually trying to, come to the fact that he is going to die as well, or is going to be taken prisoner. So he, along his 3-4 loyalists who are still left, are currently resting upon the rock. And he says, "Come, what is left of my friends, let's rest on this rock." And Clitus says, "Statulus signaled us, my lord, but he hasn't come back. He's either been captured or killed." Then Brutus replies, "Sit down, Clitus. Killing, or rather slaying, is the most likely. It seems to be in fashion. And listen, Clitus." Now, Brutus is contemplating on suiciding, although he did consider it dishonorable earlier. But now he says the same thing to Clitus. And then he whispers to Clitus that kill him. And Clitus says, "What? Me, my lord? No, I would not for the whole world." Then Brutus says, "Okay, quiet. Don't say anything." Then Clitus says, "I would rather kill myself." Okay, so these are all, understand that Brutus is actually a very honorable master, so they are extremely attached to Brutus, and they could not even think in their dreams that they'd have to kill Brutus one day. Then Brutus turns to Dardanius and he says that, "I'd like to have a word with you, Dardanius." And he whispers to Dardanius, and Dardanius says, "Could I do such a deed?" Okay, then what happens? Let's proceed.
O Dardanius,
O Clitus,
what ill request did Brutus make to thee?
to kill him, Clitus. Look, he meditates.
Now is that noble vessel full of grief, that it runs over even at his eyes.
Come hither, good Volumnius. List a word.
What says my lord?
Why this, Volumnius. The ghost of Caesar hath appeared to me 2 several times by night, at Sardis once, and this last night here in Philippi fields. I know my hour is come.
Now, since Dardanius also says that no, okay, like in his way. So then Clytus asks Dardanius, "Oh, Dardanius," and Dardanius replies, "Oh, Clytus." Then Clytus says, "What terrible request did Brutus make to you?" And Dardanius says, "To kill him, Clytus. Look, he's thinking, he's meditating upon it, like who's going to kill him? Who should kill him, rather?" Then Clytus says, "He is a noble body. His noble body is such full of grief that it is spilling out of his eyes as tears." Because teary-eyed Brutus uh, is contemplating his death as to who should kill him. That's exactly what's happening over here. Just give me a moment, please. Just give me a moment. All right. So, uh, okay, so we have checked out the spot. Let's proceed then. Now, Brutus turns to Volumnus after Clytus and Dardanius have refused him. So, Brutus says to Volumnus, "Come here, good Volumnus, listen to me." Volumnus says, "What is it, my lord? What do you want?" Then Brutus says, "Is this Volumnus Caesar's ghost?" "It is this Volumnus Caesar's ghost appeared twice to me in the night, once at Sardis and here in Philippi last night. I know my time is up." So he is saying that Brutus has realized that it is time for him to die and his death is near. Okay? And then what does?
Not so, my lord.
Nay, I am sure it is, Volumnius. Thou seest the world, Volumnius, how it goes. Our enemies have beat us to the pit. It is more worthy to leap in ourselves than tarry till they push us. Good Volumnius, thou knowst that we two went to school together. Even for that, our love of old, I prithee, hold thou my sword hilts, whilst I run on it.
That's not an office for a friend, my lord.
Okay. So now, after Brutus says to him that he has realized that his time is near, so Volumnus says, "No, it can't be, my lord. Don't say such things. It can't be." Then Brutus says, "No, Volumnus, I'm sure it is. You can see how things are going, Volumnus. Our enemies have driven us to the edge of an abyss, to the edge of a pit." Okay. So, it's a metaphor. It's not an actual pit. It's a metaphor. He's saying that he's using over here. Now they can hear trumpet is being the sound of trumpet is coming. Most probably the army of Antony and Octavius is approaching. Okay. Now what happens? Brutus says to Volumnus, continues, "It would be more noble of us to leap into that pit ourselves than hang on till they actually kick us into that pit to die. Good Volumnus, we went to school together. For that old friendship, for the sake of our old friendship, please hold my sword's hilt, and while I run into it." Volumnus says, "That's not a job for a friend, my lord. That's not a job for a friend." Now the trumpet is getting louder and louder. That means that Antony and Octavius Caesar are getting closer.
Fly, fly, my lord. There is no tarrying here.
Farewell to you, and you, and you, Volumnius. Strato, thou hast been all this while asleep. Farewell to thee too, Strato. Countrymen, my heart doth joy that yet in all my life I found no man but he was true to me. I shall have glory by this losing day, more than Octavius and Mark Antony by this vile conquest shall attain unto. So fare you well at once, for Brutus' tongue hath almost ended his life's history. Night hangs upon mine eyes, my bones would rest that have but labored to attain this hour.
So now what happens over here is that, like I told you, the enemy is getting closer and closer, and that particular drum sound is, trumpets is getting louder and louder. So Clytus says to Brutus, "Run, retreat, my lord. We can't wait here anymore. Retreat." But Brutus stops. He's just tired of running and he just wants to face his fate now. So he says, "Farewell to you, and you, and you." नीचे पैर रखा। अरे यहाँ सिग्नल नहीं है ना, नीचे सिग्नल है। एक स्क्रीन में चल रहा है, टेस्ट में 102 में टेस्ट है। ये नहीं कर रहा, इसकी कुर्सी उठाओ। प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। कितनी है? इसी पे क्या करना है? इसमें तो ये चार्ज है। जो नीचे लेना रख दे। कोई अगर हट गया तो नहीं चलेगा। वहां से हटाना नहीं चाहिए। कॉल कर देते हैं तो जाके नहीं चलेगा। वाटर की है तो वेस्ट हो जाएगा। कहाँ से डिस्कनेक्ट नहीं करना चाहिए। नहीं डिस्कनेक्ट नहीं कर रहा तो ओके नहीं नीचे ऊपर आ गया ना तो वो सिग्नल कट गया ना उसका। कटना नहीं चाहिए था। कोई बात नहीं चलेगा। उसके पहले जब नीचे रखा तब सही था। ये दिख नहीं रहा। तुम जाओ तो नीचे जाओ। वो वापस आ जाता ना जब कैच करता था। तुम आ गए तो वो कट गया। टाइम लगेगा उसमें। तुम वापस नीचे जाओ। मैं भी आता हूँ। Just give me a moment, friends. I'll be with you. Okay, friends, so all good. Let's proceed then. Now, so he says, so Brutus says farewell to everyone, and he says, farewell to you, and you, voluminous Strato. You've been here asleep all this time. Farewell to you too. Strato, my fellow Romans, my heart is glad that even now and even in this condition that's happening here, uh, by the way, in this life, I knew so many of you true friends. I will have glory on this day of defeat. My glory will not go since Antony or Octavius defeat me. So I will have more, I will have glory on this day of defeat, more glory than Antony or Octavius will get from this wild conquest. So farewell to all of you at once, for my tongue has almost said its last words. I am weary with this life. My eyes are tired. My bones want to rest. My body has worked hard just to reach this hour. So Brutus, like I told you, Brutus is absolutely tired. He was, he lost his wife killed after swallowing burning coal, and he got manipulated into killing his own best friend. He has become dishonorable to all of Romans. The manipulator Caius Cassius has also been killed, and his army has been defeated by Octavius and Antony. Even after defeating Octavius, Antony's army overcame his army and defeated it. So there's nothing much left for Brutus anymore, and he has accepted his fate, and that's why he's saying that my bones are tired and I want to rest now. I'm just too tired. And then he says that it was his good fortune to have made so many friends at Rome. Okay, so he's just getting ready to get killed now. He's just coming to. He's just coming. To the realization of the fact that he's going to be killed now. It's time for him to die now. Okay, then Clytus, while running off, says that, "Fly, my lord, fly."
Fly, my lord, fly.
Hence, I will follow. I prithee, Strato, stay thou by thy lord. Thou art a fellow of a good respect. Thy life hath had some smatch of honour in it. Hold then my sword, and turn away thy face, while I do run upon it. Wilt thou, Strato?
Give me your hand first. Fare you well, my lord.
Farewell, good Strato. Caesar, now be still. I killed not thee with half so good a will.
All right. So Clytus retreats and runs off while asking Brutus to run off. So Brutus says, "Go forth from here, and I will follow you." Okay, and he says this to Clytus, Dardanius, and Voluminous. Then Brutus turns to Strato and says, "Please, Strato, stay here with your lord, and you are extremely respected. Your life has honor in it. So hold my sword and look away while I myself run into it. Will you do this, please, Strato?" And Strato says, "Give me your hand first." And then he says, "Farewell, my lord." And then he holds the sword of Brutus, and then Brutus runs into it. And before running into it, he says, "Farewell, good Strato," and then runs into his sword. And then just before dying, he utters these words and says, "Caesar, your spirit can rest. You have been avenged. I didn't want to kill you nearly as much as I want to kill myself." So that's why he says these words. "I killed not thee with the half so good a will. Caesar, now be still. I killed not thee with the half so good at will." Okay, so Brutus says that Caesar, you have been avenged, so be still now. And with the with the urge to die that I have right now, I did not kill you with half the urge that I have right now to die myself. Okay, so Brutus says that his will of killing Caesar was not so much as his will for killing himself is. Okay, and then he dies. And then Octavius, Antony, Messala, Lucilius, Masala and Lucilius have been taken prisoners, and they all are there. Okay.
What man is that?
My master's man. Strato, where is thy master?
Free from the bondage you are in, Messala. The conquerors can but make a fire of him. For Brutus only overcame himself, and no man else hath honor by his death.
So Brutus should be found. I thank thee, Brutus, that thou hast proved Lucilius' saying true.
All that served Brutus, I will entertain them. Fellow, wilt thou bestow thy time with me?
Aye, if Messala will prefer me to you.
Do so, good Messala.
Now Octavius asks about Strato to Masala, and he says that, who's that man? Then Masala says, it's Brutus' servant, Strato. Where is Brutus? Then Strato replies, he's free from the captivity that you are in, Masala. The conquerors, that is Octavius and Antony, can only burn his body now. Brutus alone defeated himself. No other man will receive the honor from his death. So Brutus has defeated himself by killing himself, and no other man can defeat Brutus now. Then Lucilius says that this is how a noble man like Brutus should be found. Thank you, Brutus. You proved my words of praise to be true about your honor. Okay. Then Octavius says, I will take into my service. I will take into my service everyone who served Brutus. You fellow, he says to Strato, and he says, will you serve me? And then, Masala replies Strato replies, yes, if Masala will recommend me to you, only then. And then Octavius says, do so, good Masala, do that.
How died my master, Strato?
I held the sword, and he did run on it.
Octavius, then take him to follow thee, that did the latest service to my master.
This was the noblest Roman of them all. All the conspirators, save only he, did that they did in envy of great Caesar. He only, in a general honest thought, and common good to all, made one of them. His life was gentle, and the elements so mixed in him that nature might stand up and say to all the world, this was a man.
According to his virtue, let us use him, with all respect and rites of burial. Within my tent his bones tonight shall lie, most like a soldier, ordered honorably. So call the field to rest, and let's away, to part the glories of this happy day.
All right. Now Masala asks Strato that how did my master die? That is, how did Brutus die, Strato? And Strato says that I held the sword and he ran into it. Then Masala says, then take him on as a follower of Octavius, for he performed the last service for Brutus. Okay. Then Antony says about that Brutus, he says Brutus was the noblest Roman of them all. All the other conspirators did what they did because they envied Caesar. Okay, so whether it was Casca, whether it was that Metellus Cimber, whether it was that Cassius who formed this whole thing, whether it was Decius Brutus, so they all killed Caesar out of envy. But it was only Brutus who killed Caesar out of the thought that it is the best thing to do and it is the best thing in the favor of Rome to do. Okay, so that's what Antony says. He only became one of them because of honest concern for the greater good of Rome. He was noble in his life, and he was so well-rounded that nature itself might stand up and proclaim to the world, now this was a real man. So Antony praises Brutus and says that he says about Brutus that Brutus had every element of how a gentleman should be. and nature may rise up and say that this is what a real man like. Okay, and then Octavius says that let us treat him as his virtue requires. Let us treat him as honorable as he was, and give him a respectful burial with all the traditional rites. His body will lie in my tent tonight, like a soldier treated honorably. So call for peace on the battlefield, and let's go to share the glory of this fortunate day. And Octavius says that we are going to treat him with all the honor that he deserves, and certainly that we are going to give him the honor that he deserves, and his body is going to rest in my tent just like a soldier who gets treated honorably. So call for peace on the battlefield, and let's go share this glory of this beautiful, fortunate day. Okay, so that's what he said over here. So, my friends, that's all as far as Julius Caesar is concerned, and I think all of you understood this play very well and the way I've explained to all of you. If you have any doubts, any concerns, and any particular thing you want to ask me, you are most welcome to put in the comments, or you can also come to the center and ask me in person. All right. So, thank you so much for joining in this particular video. Take care of yourselves and peace out, my dear friends.